Good morning, children. In today's session, I am going to take class for 5th standard science. That is lesson 2, water. Okay, children, those who have the book, you can take the book, page number 71. So we'll see now. First is the sources of water. Sources of water. So first we are going to start with this, children. So before that, we'll see the introduction. That is, நீர் என்று அமையாது உலகினின் யார் யார்க்கும் வான் என்று அமையாது ஒழுக்கு. So this was said by Thiruvalluvar, right? So Thirukural says, if it be said that the duties of life cannot be discharged by one person without water. So life cannot be discharged by the water, okay? So without rain there cannot be water. So if it is rain only, they can get the water. So we cannot survive with water. That is, we cannot live without water. So the life has to go with water only. So without water. So how, from where do we get the water? From the rain. If there is rain only, we will get the water. So if there is no rain, there is no water. So we cannot live without water. So water once available in the nature freely. So முன்னாடியெல்லாம் வந்து இயற்கையாகவே நமக்கு வந்து தண்ணி கிடைச்சிட்டு இருந்தது. பட் நவ் இட் இஸ் சோல்ட் இன் ஷாப்ஸ் ஃபார் மணி. இப்போ மணி கொடுத்து நாங்கள் வந்து என்ன பண்ணுறோம்? தண்ணியை வாங்குகிறோம் இல்லையா? ஸோ வாட்டர் ஹாஸ் பிகம் ஸ்கார்ஸ் nowadays. நம்ம ரேராக நமக்கு வந்து வாட்டர் கிடைக்குது. So we should preserve it for our basic needs and also for the needs for the future generation. So we have to use it and preserve it for the future generation. Now in this lesson, we'll study about the source of water, how to manage it and how it is polluted, and the polluted water causes diseases. Okay, children? Now as I said, first we'll see the sources of water. What is the most abundant substance on the earth? Abundance means large quantity. It's very large quantity on the earth. It fills the seas, rivers and lakes. So we can see full of water in the lake, sea and the rivers. And water covers more than 2/3 of the earth's surface. How much, children? 2/3 of the earth's surface is covered with the water. Now it also exists as snow and ice on the mountains. So we can see as the snow, panikattin solreenga, as snow and ice on the mountains. So we can see where we can see in the Antarctica places, in the colder regions, we can see it is covered with the snow and ice on the mountains. Then in the atmosphere, so what is atmosphere? That is air which is present. Air, water is present in the huge, that is in the more amount and the large quantities as vapor and clouds. What is vapor? Water vapor and clouds. And what are the source of water, children? That is river water and lake water, sea water, well water, kinar thannin solrom illaya, spring water, that is aruvi we'll say. Then underground water, nilathadi thannin sollala, that is underground water. Now next page number 72. We'll see river water and the lake water. Now river is a channel through which fresh water flows. Fresh water na nalla thanni, seriya? Its origin of river is usually hills or mountains. From where do we get first? From the hills or the mountains. And it flows towards lakes, sea and the ocean. So where it flows? It flows towards the lake. Lake nanan sonna the area la sonna sea and ocean. Then man-made lakes are created when dam is built on a river is called reservoir. So what is reservoir? Man-made built dam on the rivers is called as the reservoirs. And small areas filled with water are called ponds. And rivers, streams, groundwater, rainfall, melting snows or a combination of these are the sources of water in lakes, reservoirs and ponds. And as less amount of salt, romba kammiyana salt idhula irukradnala, it is suitable for drinking purpose. So fresh water is used for the drinking purpose because less amount of salt we can see in this water. Then next we will go to the sea water. Okay, sea na nama kadal thanni irukku illaya. So kadal thanniல என்ன இருக்கும்? உப்பு நிறைய இருக்கும். It has a salinity, salt of approximately 35 parts per 1000. This means that 1000 ml of sea water has 35 grams of salt. 1000 ml of sea water has how much? 35 grams of salt. And see what this, due to the presence of more amount of salt, it is called saline water. It has more amount of salt, so it is called saline water. So edhukku nama saline water solrom? Nariya uppu irukum illaya thannila, that water is called, so sea water is a saline water. So it is not suitable for irrigation. Irrigation na nama vandu indha crops kella use pandrom illaya, vivasayathukella. It is not suitable as well as drinking also. Nammala kudikava mudiyadhu thanniya illaya, only fresh water we can drink. Then underground water. Underground enna sonna nilathadi thanneer nu sonna illaya. Now during rainfall, part of the rainwater gets absorbed in the soil. அது அப்படியே soil என்னது மண் அது அப்படியே ஊறிடும் இல்லையா. So it flows through various layers of the soil. So ஒன்னொன்னா கீழே தண்ணியில் மண்ணில் போகும். It reaches hard rock where it gets accumulated to form the reservoir. So you form a reservoir there. And this reservoir of water is a underground water. Last எங்கே போய் சேருது நிலத்தடியில். So underground water. This water may contain soluble salts of calcium and magnesium. So அதில் நம்ம என்ன பார்க்கலாம் calcium and magnesium. And underground water is available for human use also. So in the underground water it's used for the human as well as for spring water. Then well water கிணறு தண்ணின்னு சொல்கிறோம் இல்லையா. And the earth's surface is dug deep. Dugna தோன்றது. Okay, dug deep நல்லா ஆழமாக தோண்டி water reservoirs are found above the rocks. Rocksக்கு மேலே இருக்கிற தண்ணி தான் நமக்கு கிணறு தண்ணி. புரியுதா? The depth of a well, depth என்னன்னு சொல்ல ஆழம்னு சொல்கிறேன் இல்லையா. Of a well varies from place to place. ஒரு பிளேஸில் அதே மாதிரி இருக்குன்னா இன்னொன்று பிளேஸ்லேயும் அந்த வெல்லை வந்து நம்ம அந்த மாதிரி பார்க்க முடியாது. ஒவ்வொரு பிளேஸ்லேயும் டிஃபர் ஆகும், அதாவது வேரி ஆகும். Then well water contains suitable impurities. அதாவது impuritiesனால் impures இருக்கும் இல்லையா, அதில் depending upon the nature of the soil. சாயிலை பொறுத்தது தான், மண்ணை பொறுத்தது தான் impurities இருக்கும். Then spring water. So spring water இந்த பிக்சரில் நீங்கள் பார்க்கலாம், அந்த அருவி போகிறது. Sometimes underground water applies pressure on the rocks. அந்த pressure on the rocks இருக்கும்போது comes out of the earth's surface. அந்த pressure இருக்கும்போது it comes out of the earth and the form of a spring from any available openings. எங்கே ஓப்பனிங் இருக்குதோ அங்கேருந்து அந்த pressure அந்த rocks மேலே இருக்கிற ப்ரெஷரால் அது தண்ணி வெளியே வரும். சரியா? So this water is called spring water. And spring water contains salts and minerals. Spring water contains salts and minerals which is free from suspended impurities. So you cannot find any impurities in this spring water. It is free from the impurities. Next we will go to the water cycle. So next we have finished the sources of water. Next we will see the water cycle. Water cycle. Okay. Next is the water cycle. Now continuous movement of water from the earth to the atmosphere. Earthலேருந்து air, atmosphere நமக்கு காற்று இருக்குல்ல atmosphere, and back to the earth is known as a water cycle or hydrological cycle. Now water cycle consists of 4 stages. Now so already we have learned this in the third standard also, children. So once again we will see about this water cycle. In this water cycle already I said there are 3, that is evaporation, condensation and precipitation. Now first we will see the evaporation. So in this evaporation water is changed into water vapor. So already you said this is a river water. Then evaporation, that is water changed into water vapor. Then condensation, then precipitation. Okay. So first evaporate, that is from the water, from the heat of the sun what happens, the water changes into water vapor by the heat of the sun is called evaporation. Okay. Then it takes place, where it takes place? On the surface of the rivers, oceans, lakes and ponds. Next, condensation. So what is condensation? The process of water vapor converted into water on cooling. Here the water vapor is converted into water on cooling. So first heat of the sun, water vapor. Then where it goes there to the earth and there is a water on cooling is called as a condensation. Now water vapor becomes lighter, rises up and cools down. Okay, what happens? The water lights and becomes cools down and forms a tiny water droplets. Tiny water droplets, and it becomes huge to form a river. Okay, heavy it becomes. So it forms a tiny water droplets, that is condensation. Then precipitation. What happens? These water droplets join together to form clouds. What happens? The tiny droplets combine to form the clouds and it becomes heavier. Okay, as it becomes cooler, the droplets become bigger and heavier to fall down as a rain. That is called as a precipitation. You understand, children? So condensation is nothing. There are forming of tiny droplets. Then after the tiny droplets combine to form heavier or bigger clouds. Heavier or bigger clouds, and then again it comes down as a rain. Then if the air is very cold, they freeze to fall as hail of snow. This you can find in the colder regions which come with nama vandu panikatti malan solrom illaya. So that is called as a snow. You can this find it in the colder regions. Next is the flowing back to the oceans. Rainwater forms streams and springs which join together to form rivers. Rainwater forms streams and springs. Streams and springs. Okay, this is spring and this is rivers join to form rivers, and rivers flow finally into the sea and ocean, thereby completing the cycle. At last, where do they flow? They flow to the sea and ocean, thereby completing the water cycle. Next, see, do you know in freezing condition, you know what is freezing, right? The ice and form agudilla. Water falling from the sky becomes snow or hail. Hailstones are balls of ice. What is hailstones? Ice. That's hailstones and so on. Then next we'll go to the water management. Next is third one is the water management. Water management. So next is Roman number 3, water management. About 97.5% of total water available on earth is too salty to be used for drinking and irrigation. That is 97.5% of water. It's not suitable for drinking or irrigation because it's too salty, right? So the rest of 2% of 2.5% of water is fresh water. This is salt water. This is fresh water that is used for drinking and irrigation. 97.5%, as it is very salty, it's not used for drinking. Well, the 2.5% of fresh water is used in the drinking and irrigation. Now, most of the fresh water, that is 68.7% of the total fresh water, is frozen as ice caps and glaciers, and 30.1% occurs as groundwater. Now, out of the remaining 1.2% of water, about 0.9% occurs as in soil, air and in bodies of living organisms. So the rest, that is 0.3%, fresh surface water sources such as rivers and lakes are formed. And by this it is clear, it's a very small fraction of water, that is 3% of water only is available for the use of human beings. That is 3% is the fresh water which is used for the human beings. So the other 97.5%, it's too salty and it's not used for drinking or for irrigation. Then next is the freshwater management. Next is the freshwater management. So let's see the freshwater management. We have already learned in 3rd standard, children, all these. So this is a water management is the activity of planning, developing and managing the use of water resource. That is, nowadays we don't get enough rainfall, and except few, most of the rivers are drained. Drained in another dry. So all of that is most of the rivers are drained. And due to this changes in the climate, we don't have water in lakes and ponds. Okay, so namakku vandu mala romba kammiya irukadnala lakes, ponds ellame vandu dry aichu. So we don't have enough water. So people in many countries suffer because they don't have water even for their basic needs. அதாவது அவங்க பேசிக் என்னென்னா வீட்டில் யூஸ் பண்ணுற தேவையானது நீட்ஸ்க்கு எல்லாமே வந்து என்ன இருக்குது, அவங்க வந்து தண்ணி இல்லை. They suffer for water. And so we need to manage the available water. So how we are going to manage? So we are going to manage, that is for the future generation, that is rainwater harvesting. So we are going to manage by the rainwater harvesting, that is useful for the future use. Then the process of collecting rainwater from the rooftop of the building is called rainwater harvesting. That is here, can see in the picture, a house is there, a rooftop. Okay, this rooftop is here, from this pipe, and even from the ground level also, storage tank. It is both. Okay, this is storage tank. From this pipe, to get the rain, the water is stored here, then goes into the pipe and inside the storage tank. So that is how the rainwater is collected. So the rooftop of the building is called rainwater harvesting. In this system, rainwater is stored into a storage tank for later use. Storage tank after later use. And rainwater available in the open spaces around the buildings may also be recharged into the ground. That is surrounding the building. You can see the space. Here also the rainwater can found. This also goes inside the storage tank. Now it is another method of rainwater harvesting. Not only the rooftop harvesting, you have another harvesting also called as it is another method of rainwater harvesting. And the government of Tamil Nadu leads the nation in implementing rainwater harvesting program. So it is made it mandatory. Mandatory, what means I said that is compulsory. It has made compulsory in all the houses and the buildings in the state to install rainwater harvesting facility. So you have to make a rainwater harvesting facility in all the houses and buildings, and the Tamil Nadu government has made it compulsory to have a rainwater harvesting in the houses and the buildings. Then what are the advantages? Advantages can reduce the floods in the cities. So floods are நம்ம cities-ல வந்து அதை வந்து என்ன பண்ணலாம், கம்மி பண்ணலாம் by the rainwater harvesting. Then it can reduce top soil loss. அதாவது soil மேலே இருக்க தண்ணி எல்லாம் வந்து தேங்கி நிற்குது இல்லையா, அதெல்லாம் இல்லாமல் பார்த்துக்கலாம். Then groundwater level can be increased. Water level வந்து increase ஆகும் groundwater. Then it can be conserved. சேமித்து வைக்கலாம், சரியா? Then it can improve the plant growth. நம்ம வந்து தண்ணி வந்து சேமித்து வச்சோம்னா the plant growth also can be improved. Okay. Then next is a farm ponds. A farm pond is a structure dug out on the earth. So earth la vandu dugna vandu thondradhu, சரியா? And then it is surrounded by a small bandana, the stones alla vandu anga create பண்ணிருப்பாங்க ஒரு thin fence மாதிரி, which prevents erosion on the banks of the pond. The size of the pond depends on the type of the soil. And the pond vandu the soil depend பண்ணி தான் அது இருக்கும், சரியா? Type. Then water requirements of the farmer also, its uses and the cost of the excavation and the digging எல்லாம் இருக்குல்ல, the cost also. Then water is conveyed to the fields manually by pumping or by both. Manually na நம்ம people say dig out பண்ணது, or by pumping also. So by both, manually யும் பண்ணலாம், நான் pumping வேணும் செய்யலாம். So farm ponds are created like that. Then next is a waste water management. Now used water from any activities such as domestic na houses, industrial, then agriculture is called as a waste water. So the waste used water வந்து வெளியே வருது இல்லையா, from the houses, industries, agriculture விவசாயம், அங்கேருந்தெல்லாம் தண்ணி is called waste water. Now this is the water released after using for laundry, bathing. So laundry வந்து then bathing குடிக்கிறாங்க இல்லையா, then dish washing, that is vessel washing, then toilets, from the toilets and the industrial purpose, அங்கேருந்தெல்லாம் வர்றது எல்லாமே தான் waste water. Then waste water also includes rainwater that has been polluted as it runs into the rivers, lakes and oceans. Then pollutants are unwanted chemicals or the materials that contaminate water. Okay, the unwanted pollutants is what? Are the unwanted chemicals or the materials that contaminate. Contaminate, that is pollute, can be water. Then the goal of waste water management, or the goal another is to purify, purify and protect the water so that it can be reused. So avangaloda goal waste water management goal another thanniya vandu enna pannom, purify as well as protect it and can be, so that it can be reused. Thiruppi adha vandu thanni vandu nama use pannalam without wasting the water. Then it also must be clean before it flows into the rivers, lakes and oceans. So before it goes to the rivers, lakes and oceans, it should be cleaned. So this is the goal of the wastewater management. Then wastewater treatment. Generally wastewater is treated by physical, chemical and biological by using filtration, sedimentation method. By adding cow dung and others, cow dung powder and bacteria. And this method is followed in the industries. So this wastewater treatment is followed in the industries. And what are the advantages? Wastewater treatment ensures that the environment should be clean. Environment nama sutti surrounding irukilla should be clean. Then there is no water pollution. Water should be not polluted. And it prevents waterborne diseases. Waterborne disease another cholera, typhoid disease idellame vandu waterborne disease can be prevented. Then it ensures that there is adequate water for irrigation. Irrigation another supplying water for the crops growth. So it should be adequate water. Okay children, so I think till here you have understood. So the other half of the lesson I will take in the next class children. Thank you.